Eric, so great to see you, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. You too.
I was hoping we could actually just open it up with restorative roots. Like, where did it originate from? How did you and Holly come up with the idea? Explain a little bit what it's all about.
Yeah, totally. So we actually were on our own health journey when we met. This was like 15 years ago, and I was sick all the time: headaches, ear infections, gut issues, allergies, you name it. So was Holly, always at the doctor for something, and the answer always seemed to be like a pill. They never talked to us about what we were eating, um, and yeah, I just sort of struggled. And then we watched a few food documentaries when we first started dating, and totally changed our perspective on food. I had no idea what was going on in the food system, and we slowly changed how we ate. And we tried a bunch of different paleo, try vegan, carnivore, this that, and we slowly just kind of found what works really well for us. And it all just comes down to eating real food, right? Um, and all these symptoms that I had went away. Like I said, headaches and gut issues and blah blah blah. And then I just sort of became like an evangelist for real food and started preaching it everywhere. And so did Holly too. And then we got pregnant with our first, and before the baby came, we didn't do any sort of prep before the postpartum time, which is after baby comes. And it was so hard after the baby came. Man, we had this really high standards for the food that we ate, and it just was so hard to do that because you couldn't just go out and order something or get it delivered and have it be all organic and grass fed everything and bone, like, it just wasn't around. And so I cooked a lot, and we just really struggled. And then before baby number two, Holly did all this research on like what should you do postpartum, what kind of food should you eat, and it was like soup and stew, and everything should be cooked in bone broth, or you should drink bone broth, and um, avoid the cold, raw, dry, crunchy in favor of like warm, soft, easy to digest. And so we cooked like 60 meals before the baby came, and like after the baby came, I was just pulling stuff out of the freezer and warming it up, and it was just like our life was so much better. She healed better, and like I went back to work pretty quickly. I didn't really like realize how cool it was until after the fact. When we look back on it, we're like, man, that was amazing. And these birth workers that we knew at the time, they were doulas and midwives. A couple friends of ours, they were just like, this is a business. Like, this is a business. Our clients need this, and you guys should start this. And we're like, well, I said no. Holly was like, I want to do this. I was like, that sounds really hard. You're talking about cooking soup and stew from scratch. It's like the hardest thing ever. But she pushed forward, and yeah, we made a little menu, a PDF. I said we, she did. And then these two doulas posted it on their Instagram, and like strangers just started Venmoing us. And so that was like the start of what was then called Mama Meals and is now called Restorative Roots.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm curious, like, what was that like starting a business out of your house? And when did all this happen? Was this just the past couple of years?
Yeah, 3.5 years ago is when we started.
Okay.
Like at the very end of 2021, I think. Yeah. And yeah, what was that like starting in our house? Um, I mean, very few people will understand the volume of food that has to get cooked, Like we started a food manufacturing business out of our house alongside of also cooking all of our own food. Like because our values are so like our standards are so high for what we eat, we basically have to cook everything. We rarely eat out. And so we had two kids and cooking all our own food at home and started doing like this food manufacturing business, cooking soup and stew. We had these two, three, or there were, I think 3 gallon, 3 or 5 gallon stock pots that were just constantly going on our stove. And we live in an area, nobody really has AC around us. And man, it was such a hot summer that summer too that came through, and there was just giant, like huge things of soup cooling on the table. It was the heat was going into the house. I remember I would put the big old pot in the sink, and I would go buy a bag of ice and go put it on the side of the pot to try to cool it down. And the oven was constantly running with like the lactation cookies that were super popular, and it was like a sauna in my house is how I can explain it. And so the like the logistical side of it, like the operation side, was super hard. I think my hands probably aged like 5 years in that first year for all the dishes that we did, and and then also like there was a relationship strain too. I mean, we were like, I was working full time, and we have 2 kids, and then we're also trying to like run this business together as husband and wife, but then also partners. And it was a very it was a tough experience. It was a tough experience. We persevered through a lot, and I think I can see why a lot of people would be like, "Nah, I'm done. I'm not doing this." But we pushed through it, and I feel like we're benefiting from it now.
And just for the record, you're out of the kitchen now, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, out of the house. Okay.
We're out of the house. We've got a kitchen, and we're doing like, I think it's about 160 gallons at a time right now. Whereas we were cooking like 5 gallons or 3 gallons at a time. I think it was like 3 gallons at a time. So we have some bigger equipment. We've got a giant freezer, and yeah, shipping nationwide all over the country.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you kind of tiptoed around some of this. I was curious, like what kind of foods are supposed to be eaten during like that postpartum stretch? You mentioned bone broth. Like, could you just kind of walk through? You mentioned lactation cookies.
Sure.
Just give us an idea of what that's all about.
Yeah, the through the research that we did, mostly Holly. I mean, she taught me, but like the Chinese culture, a lot of our ancestral, different cultures around the world say that that time you should be eating like soups and stews and things that are warming and grounding, and very nutrient dense, things like bone broth, because you like giving birth is like a huge event, and even growing the baby. I mean, you're utilizing all of these nutrients and all this calcium and all these things basically coming from you building this baby, and then you gotta recover. And um and yeah, so the for baby number one, she was eating like cold smoothies and like raw salad and crackers and like things, these dry things that just like she got super constipated, and it was just a nightmare. She felt like crap. And then for baby number two, it was like soup and stew, and like she had these lactation cookies that they made, but it was like lots of butter and like really like not very dry. And she recovered 100 times better. She didn't deal with any constipation, and like all the research proved true, I guess, through our experience. So that's how we kind of scratched our own itch, and then created that for or like solved our own problem, and then tried to solve that problem for others.
Okay, no, it makes sense. So basically, just like warm, sort of easy to digest foods that a mom or those who support her could just basically pull out, pop in a heat up, and she's getting everything that her body needs.
Yeah, yeah, things you would eat out of a bowl. Like, what do you eat out of a bowl? That's kind of how I approached it, or how we looked at it. And
Okay.
like a kanji is like a soupy rice based. It's like thick, but it's soupy. And yeah, yeah.
Any organ meats part of this, or is that not part of it? At like
Yes, that
okay,
that's funny. I didn't mention that. Yeah, organs are the most nutrient dense food on the planet. Like gram for gram, there's like the highest in micronutrients. And so all these cultures talk about incorporating the organ meats too. So in ours, we incorporate liver and heart, and it's ground up and sort of mixed in, and you don't taste it at all too. That's why I think we get such great reviews on people like, I can't even taste it. We don't even know what's in there, and we do a good job at sort of like sneaking it in for sure.
what are some of the meals? Is it like chili soups? Like, is it that kind of stuff, basically?
Yeah, like a hearty sausage stew is one of them. That's one of our top sellers, which is what you think it is, like a stew: potatoes, carrots, onions, bone broth, regenerative sausage, and then our top seller every month is usually the creamy chicken congee. So it's like regenerative rice cooked in bone broth, and then regenerative pasture or regenerative chicken thighs and liver mixed in with some onions and butter and garlic, and it's like almost plain but not, and like it's, I get why it's our top seller every month for sure. It's delicious. And then we have an oatmeal where we use sprouted rolled organic oats, which is like hard to find sprouted oats at any sort of like volume. Like you could find some at the store, but it's like little bags. Like to find a big bag of organic sprouted oats is like just one of the more difficult things that we do. Um, and then the new one we just came out with was the bison breakfast porridge, which is bison from Force of Nature and millet and potatoes and eggs. All of it's all mixed in with bone broth and got this like porridge. Super good. Super good.
I'm getting hungry. No, it sounds awesome. It sounds awesome. So, okay, so you've got how many kids now? Two?
We're at
Three?
three. We're at three
Three?
kids now. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
awesome. So like, okay, so being a dad, being a husband, working, starting this business, I'm sure it wasn't easy for you. I'd imagine for Holly, she had her hands crazy full. Like, could you just sort of walk me through your viewpoint on kind of the role as, the father, the husband, the business partner, etc.,
Yeah.
both like during birth and postpartum?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. This whole experience was a very enlightening, like learning experience. Through our like birth of this company, as well as like through the birth of our second child, we realized that like our masculine and feminine roles were very reversed. Like when I say that, I mean Holly was like she had started her own business. She was a wedding planner. Like basically, she got to this place where people were spending like $500,000 on a wedding, and she's in charge of like the whole thing. So people are just like looking to her, and she's the leader, and she's like she's the math, like the energy that's leading that. And when we started this business and she asked me to lead it, man, what happened was we realized that she's still trying to sit in that seat, and I was showing up in more of like a feminine energy in our relationship and in the business, and like it forced me to really step into that and step out of that. And that's one of the reasons it was really hard in the beginning, because it was almost like we had to come to an agreement, like she has to just take a back seat in running the business, whereas all she wants to do is drive. And so um that was it was so difficult. And then also at the same time, it was in our relationship too. Like I was more than happy to let her just call the shots and tell us what to do, and be the leader. And I didn't even realize it, that I was being like in like a in more of like a feminine state, just letting her do that and not taking charge and not being the person who is the leader. And in figuring that out, our relationship got so hard. And then after the dust settled, it was like, oh, everything's way better now. Like this is how it should be, like this is how like I needed to show up from the beginning. So that was like part of the business side of it. And then in terms of like birth and like postpartum and stuff, like yeah, you got to show up in that masculine, in that like I'm here I'm the protector, I'm the rock, I'm here to do whatever needs to happen to make this experience exactly what it should be for the woman. And that could look like you being like, I always say, like, pretend like you're the concierge at a nice hotel. You know, like when somebody comes up, a guest comes up, and they're like, "Hey, I need this." The concierge is just like, "Oh, I'm gonna make it happen." Like a good concierge that gets paid really well, they just make shit happen. And that's, I think, my perspective is you just be that person that makes it happen during that time, and it will go. It works well. I'm three rodeos in now, and that's the perspective that I have for sure.
That's awesome. No, the marriage is tough to navigate on its own. And then when you're juggling kids, work, starting a business, doing it out of your house, I'd imagine that'd be a handful for both of you, and something for both of you to just navigate together.
Yep.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that process, the first time around, you said Holly was kind of doing smoothies and sort of everything wrong, and then started doing some research, making shifts, and it went easier. Um, I'm curious though, like conventional medicine doesn't necessarily always talk about, postpartum depletion, or, like this isn't something that is very mainstream. like, what are your thoughts around that? Why do you think this isn't something that more, moms, mothers to be, et cetera, really know about and talk about?
Yeah, good question. Um, it seems like it's something that's been lost culturally, like somewhere around however long ago it was, we stopped doing like the home birth thing and the hospitals came around. And then I think culturally we just sort of like outsourced our genius around this to the hospitals, to the medical, like mainstream, I guess you could say, establishment. And they look at it like a business. They don't really look at it like as highest outcomes for the woman. They're looking at, those are businesses, right? There's a documentary called The Business of Being Born. That was really eye opening. And it just doesn't, they're there for, to make money, it seems like. And but there's so much wisdom of our ancestors and the birth, I mean, I call them birth workers now, but like the birth keepers, the people that really like kept the philosophies of birth from generation to generation. Like there's so much knowledge in there to be successful at birth, and I just think a lot of it's lost. A lot of it just got lost. Like I mean, this isn't funny, but like you go to the hospital and they stick a woman in the stirrups and put her legs up in the air and expect the baby to come out. Like, you're not even using gravity. You got gravity that can help pull the baby down, but you're gonna stick her legs up and the pelvis shifts up the wrong way. They're just all confused in those places, and yeah, I think that is down this path. We've met just incredible birth workers that have like really shifted that for a lot of people, if that makes sense.
Did you use like doulas, et cetera, for all three births? Was there like a shift partway through?
Yeah, we did all three births with midwife and doula.
Okay.
The first one we did a birth center, which is like like a glorified, like it's like a very nice hotel room is sort of how I would explain the one that we went to. And they got like equipment and stuff there, and like there's a tub, but it's like, a nice bed, but you have to drive there to the place. And that was the most stressful part of the birth. The first one was driving to that dang birth center in the middle of the night. So for baby number two, we just had the midwives and doulas come to our house and like they set up all the equipment and do all the things, and then they clean it all up before they leave. It was great. I call them birth ninjas. They're amazing.
That's awesome. No, it's and I imagine such a more peaceful experience too. Like for Holly, for you, for your kids, just sort of being somewhere that's comfortable instead of something beeping, and if Holly needs rest, she's constantly getting interrupted, and things like that.
Oh, I tell everybody like the home's the way to do it. If you don't have any sort of like complications or like there's risks associated with it, like the outcomes, the woman's got to be in that, that state to like be ready for that. If there's a lot of fear going into it, then, you got to be careful with that. But if she knows her body and she knows she can do it, tap into that energy of our ancestors. They did it all the time. They always did it like at home. They didn't go anywhere. And if she feels confident, she could do it. They can all do it. They're all built for it.
No, definitely. Women are way tougher than me, for sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, they'd be like one and done. One and
Yeah,
done. Not doing
yeah,
nothing.
that'd be it. That'd be it. So I want to step back a little bit because you started out obviously with like frozen, postpartum meals, being shipped locally and now nationwide. But actually, Restorative Roots is shifting. You're kind of going into more of like the restorative meals that are sort of everybody, for everybody. Could you share a little bit about that and what that looks like and what brought that on?
Yeah. So our main focus has been postpartum, and we just went through it for a third time, and we got to eat all of our soups and stews. It was great, like we didn't. It was all done at the kitchen, sitting in our fridge. We got to be a proper customer this time, and the experience was great. But Holly realized, like after a few months, it was like, okay, I don't want to eat soups and stews all the time. Like it's like not you get over it at a certain point. At least eating it regularly, you know, you can still have some, and you know, it's more spread out. But she just said, like, man, I wish there was a meal prep that did the weekly fresh meal delivery, like Factor Meals or HelloFresh or some of those, that was up to our ingredient standards. And it just didn't exist. So sort of like the whole, you know, postpartum meals, it didn't exist. So we had to do it. We were like, all right, well, let's start this up. So through our journey in the food space, I had met some people that do the meal delivery thing. And so we brought on a facility in Texas that does a weekly fresh meal delivery now. It's called Restorative Meals. And it's all regenerative beef and chicken. And all the meat is regenerative. The rice is regenerative. And it's the cleanest meal prep around. It's like, you know, one of the dishes have like seven to 10 ingredients, all cooked in tallow, no oils. And yeah, it just launched, less than 2 months ago. And it's been a really, Holly's like, we eat it every day now, basically. I just had one, actually, the food that my dog ate when we were sitting here getting ready for this, the food that my dog chopped up, he ate wild boar, wild boar egg roll bowl, which is wild boar chorizo from Force of Nature, and then organic coleslaw mix with some coconut aminos, and it's like this really, it's called an egg roll bowl. My dog ate that for lunch today. But yeah, that's the gist of it. It just started and delivering nationwide now.
That's awesome. And so kind of stepping back, because there's a lot of meal delivery services, but you know, some of them are kind of highly processed. Some of them will be labeled organic. You keep mentioning things that are like more regenerative. Could you just unpack that for us a little bit? Like, what do you mean by your standards, and how is it different from, you know, some of the other stuff out there that we might see or be used to?
Yeah, well, if you don't know, like, regenerative agriculture is it's a system of farming that really sort of honors the land. It takes like, well, here's an example. An organic operation has limits on like the kind of stuff you can spray on it and the kind of inputs you can put on it. Regenerative is a system that rotates crops, that uses cover crops to cover the ground, that incorporates animals into the system for fertilizing, that that basically regenerates the soil, and you can keep the system going as you rotate everything, and it almost gets stronger as it goes. Whereas like you can have an organic crop and you can do the same organic crop over and over again. It's called monocropping, and you just pull the same nutrients from the soil over and over again until it just, and then the pests know what's going to come every year. It's the same thing every year. So the pests they know exactly what's coming. When you rotate things, the pests don't really know what's coming. And so you don't need all those chemicals or nearly as much as you would on any other operation. And what you get is a more nutrient dense food and a more sustainable system. And so, and then the treatment of the animals too, man, you can, I'm sure everybody's seen those like high animal, like the large animal operations where they're just all confined, and it's just like it just looks yucky, you know, and it looks sad. The farm where we get our chicken from, it's called Greener Pastures. They have these huge outdoor chicken coops that are these really long, like tent looking tunnels. And the chickens are outside in the grass. And then they hook tractors up to the back of these coops, and they just roll it down the field once they've like destroyed sort of the grass that they're in. So there's this huge open field, and the chickens are living outside. They're pecking at bugs, you get fresh air, and they live like a very, like much more natural life. And that's where our chicken comes from. And like, you could just look at it. It looks different. And it's like, yeah, it's very obvious and safe too. Cause they're not like, you know, they're not living in their own filth. They're living outside. So yeah, that's regenerative agriculture, I guess, in a nutshell.
No, that makes a ton of sense. It's funny because I'm in California right now, and driving out here, passed by a bunch of farms where the cows were literally just side by side by side by side by side, kind of locked into these pens eating, you know, feed. And we go by other fields where there's just a couple of them. They're out on pastured land, walking around, and it's just such a different experience, such a different quality of meat. That's awesome, though, that you thought, hey, this doesn't exist in the market. Let's just create it.
Yep.
Um, that's awesome. What? So okay, so in these types of meals that you're doing, um, what do some of those meals look like? I'm assuming you're using bone broth and organ meats. Can you just walk through maybe a couple of the popular meal options and um, just what we could expect from them?
Yeah, I think our most popular meal right now is the garlic herb chicken thighs. I mean, it's like chicken thigh chopped up. You got a yellow potato with grass-fed butter, some sea salt, and green beans cooked in tallow and some garlic. You know what I mean? Like that's it. The we have the wild boar sprouts and snouts. So it's wild boar chorizo, uh, butternut squash, and Brussels sprouts, right? And it's like the Brussels are all cooked in tallow, the butternut's cooked in tallow. Like it's all just super super simple ingredients. There's like stuff that kids like too. There's like spaghetti and meatballs. We do an organic um, brown rice pasta, and then we use Force of Nature meatballs and like some tomato sauce. Um, and then there's the mac and cheese where we have like this powdered cheese that we found that's organic powdered cheese. That's all. The only ingredient is organic cheddar cheese, like dried. Super hard to find that, by the way. Like super hard to just
I
find
bet.
that one ingredient. Everything has like titanium dioxide or some sort of like anti-caking agent that's mixed in there, and like that's something you'll never see on any of our ingredients label. It's only going to be things that are food on the ingredients label. And
Why? I'm sorry to cut you off, but like, why do you think that is? Because that's something as everybody tries to eat better. There's things like this which are simple ingredients, regenerative, whole food, and then there's these other kinds of meal delivery services or just foods out there in general that are ultra processed, but they're labeled as like plant based and they're hailed as healthy. What are
yeah,
your thoughts on that? Like, why is that so prevalent?
yeah, I don't know. It seems like there's a there's an idea out there that because something is made of plants that it's healthy, and I mean I don't think that couldn't be further from the truth. Like the at least from my perspective is if like what you're eating should just be food, meaning did it grow or walk around outside? You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
not all the gums and all the anti-caking agents and all the synthetic vitamins that are added and reduced iron and there's all these things in there that are not food. And this is what I teach my kids. I'm like every time the ice cream truck comes by, I tell my 8-year old, I'm like, hey, look, when you can read the ingredients list, I'll let you buy something off that truck. So he got something from the ice cream man. No, he's like asked for the thing, and I'm like, okay, go for it. And he starts reading the thing, and it's just it's just words that he can't even pronounce,
Yeah.
and we just start laughing because like I'm trying to, you know, it's difficult because his friend will sit there, his neighbor, like our neighbor that's his friend, will eat that thing right in front of us, and it's kind of tough, but um, yeah, that philosophy is I think has been lost, and I think it comes down to people just people are trying to make a buck. The ultra processed stuff lasts a long time on the shelf. Lasts a long time on the shelf, and yeah, I don't know. But what we do, I mean, man, we cook this stuff fresh, and they do they suck the air out of the meal package. It's called MAP, and they suck the air out. And I think it's food grade nitrogen that's injected in its place, and then like it'll be 10 days later you'll peel the thing open and it looks the same as it did the day you cooked it. It's crazy. um, but yeah, I don't know if that answered your original question, like what's up with that. I don't know what's up with that, the whole plant-based thing. Yeah,
Well, it's
I
not.
tried it. I tried being vegan, I tried doing those things, and I just didn't feel very good when I did it. Yeah.
It sounds like it's not easy. I mean, it sounds like it's way easier to use anti-caking agents and seed oils and things like that are cheaper ingredients, increase profit. And I know for myself, trying to cut those kinds of ingredients out. You go to a place like Trader Joe's, and if you, not to bash them, but if you actually read a lot of, the ingredient labels, you can't eat a lot of it if you're really trying to be clean and honor yourself.
Yep.
From where you sit, because I'd imagine that as you've gone through this process of starting these businesses with Holly and looking into who can help you cook and who can help you produce and where do you source your ingredients, I'm sure you've gained an opinion on this. Like, what is one like ingredient or cooking method that you wish every delivery company, like every meal, prep delivery company would ban? Like, what's one thing that for you is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they get away with putting this in there?
I'll throw a curveball on this. It's there's all the ingredients, right? The seed oils and all the, the stuff, like you look on but there's something that I would ban that isn't on the ingredients label that is surely getting into the food. And I'll tell you a story. I was working with a company that was supposed to help us start making the food for us. And they had these big old kettles. I mean, 140-gallon kettles, right? And so I went out to assess the production facility and talk to them about what they're doing. And I asked them about their cleaning protocols. And one of the things that they do that's written in their plan that the health department says they have to do is they have to sanitize the kettle after each use. And what they do is they pour a sanitizer into the kettle, and on the side of that sanitizer is a skull and crossbones, and it's like dangerous to aquatic life. There's all kinds of warning. It's poison, and they pour it in there, and then they let it dry in the kettle, because according to the health department, you can't wash it off. You have to let it dry to do its job, and then they would fill up the kettle again after it's dried and cook more food. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
what are you doing? And they're like, this is how you're supposed to do it. I'm like, it was almost a surreal moment of like thinking about how many kitchens must do this across the country and how unknown it is, how much of that stuff is getting into the food supply. I mean, these are things that are labeled organic, right? Like USDA organic labeled, but can be cooked in a kettle that had this super toxic sanitizing agent just dried in there. And if I could do, say, one thing to ban, it's that stuff, because nobody knows, not one person in this world knows what that's doing to our society as a whole. Not, impossible to know.
Oh my God. No, I had no idea that something like that would even be allowed. That
No,
is
not just
insane.
allowed, like
That done.
demanded.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy. That's crazy. If if you could wave a magic wand and you could sort of redesign the whole system and kind of fix it from the ground up, like, and from where you sit, what would you fix? Like, what?
Yeah. Um, that would be one of them.
Yeah.
That would be one of them. Yeah, I think it would just, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's the people that have to demand the things, right? Like the system will change when we all just say, all right, this is what we're going to do. And this is what we're going to spend our money on. And that's sort of where we got to, like we wouldn't eat out. Like, I mean, we're talking 99% of food, we would
Yeah.
eat in our own house, and we would eat out occasionally. And that number's gone up a little bit over the years now with the 3 kids and all the birthday parties and all the this and that. But I mean, I think we as a people just need to just vote with our dollars, like, and with our time, because it's very convenient to just go order something out, and it tastes really good too. But yeah, there's all these things that in the background that like we're sort of enabling. So, I mean, in terms of waving a magic wand, I just make real food. Just make it so that what's going into the thing, you can read the ingredients label, and it's just food that you would find outside. That's it. I mean, if we could do that, man, everything, you could follow whatever diet you want. I mean, sure, some things will work better than others, but you're going to see a lot of disease immediately just like disappear if we did something like that.
What a novel concept. Yeah, absolutely.
Just eat
It's kind
food.
of, it's incredible how with the advent of a lot of processed foods and different things that have happened over the last several decades, how much, chronic disease and things have just blown up. And I think there's a lot to be said with just going back to nature. And so having something like restorative roots where you're able to do something regenerative and healthy and whole foods, that's awesome. From the business perspective, like, you and Holly have kind of worked through the kinks. You got this up and running. You've got now the meal service, delivery service that you launched a couple months ago. What's been like one of the biggest struggles story wise that you could share just in getting this going? I can't imagine it's all been super easy.
Yeah. I mean, like it's been really cool because like we had a really good idea and a really great niche and we had a really great product. And so it just sort of like we didn't really have to do much marketing, right? And it was just like every month has been growing. And so that part is cool. Now since we've grown, I mean, we've run into some struggles. I mean, I'll share that like in March, January, February, March, um, we as a company got 2 cease and desist orders against us in one day, if you can imagine that.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah, one came from the health department, not because we were doing anything unsafe. It was a clerical error. We moved kitchens and paid the wrong invoice, and we had just had a baby, and they never responded. And it was a clerical error, and this woman came in and threatened me with 6 months in jail if we it was either it could be a $25 fine or it could be up to 6 months in prison, is what the cease and desist said. I was like,
Yeah, no, that's no difference.
yeah,
Oh
quite
my
a
God.
scale you got going there. And then in the same day, a $600 million company, who I will not say their name, um, issued a cease and desist against our old business name, which was called Mama Meals, and they felt that it was too close to what their name was, and that we needed to change the name in 60 days, or they were going to sue us. And
Oh,
that was quite an experience. So if you want to see the best, or like the biggest day, I tell you, I still slept okay that night. And then we had our quarterly leadership meeting planned for the next day already. So we like mapped out the game plan. We found some uh, like a workaround for the kitchen, and then yeah, we just rebranded the whole company, and we already had a name picked out and everything before that cease and desist came. But yeah, I mean, if you want to hear a struggle, that's probably one of the struggles. And you could go back to when I was we were shipping out of our house, and like I'd go to drive to FedEx, and the FedEx is closed, and I couldn't ship one of the 3 boxes that we had to ship out. It started there. It started at not making it to FedEx in time, and ended at you know potentially 6 months in jail, and threatened by a $600 million company. So I guess things are going good, right? I guess things are we're on the right path.
higher quality problems for
Higher
sure.
quality problems, yeah. Yep.
So, like with all of this, with coming up with the vision for the business, figuring out all of the different irons, the things you have to iron out, from finding a commercial kitchen and all of that. Like, did you and Holly sort of split up, like, who does what? Is it that she sets the strategic vision? Like, how have you figured that out amongst the two of you?
Yeah. She's a visionary, which is like high level like direction,
Hmm.
and then also handles like social, and like she's the mom, right? She needs to be communicating to the moms.
Yeah.
And then I'm the integrator, which is the integrator is who takes the visionary's vision and then like integrates it, right? More of the operator of the company. So all the back end stuff, putting together the systems, I can't tell you how many phone calls and demos and things that I've done these days to like get this company where it's at. And then people, and that's how we split it up. And I think that's where it should be right now, because we have 3 kids, we homeschool. Like she has a full-time job. She doesn't have the bandwidth to like be in the business all the time. So even though she wants to be, but that's how we split it up.
Have you been able to like leave, like, is this what you do full time now, both you and Holly?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been a year and a half now, something like that.
What's that been like? Like, overall, for those who are listening and are thinking, "Hey, I have a great idea. My wife and I would like to start something." Like, what's it like running a business with your spouse? What tips or advice would you give for people who are kind of looking down the same path that you've gone down?
Um, yeah, I feel like there could be a whole podcast, or there could be a whole like business around, or not business. There's like a support group around this. Yeah, I'll say that it's probably the hardest thing in the world, and it pushed us to our limit for sure. And but also it was something that I think catapulted us forward to this new relationship that we have, where the masculine feminine roles are way more in line with where they should be. And so the fruits of that struggle are I think are worth it. And yeah, like, be very clear about who does what and what the responsibilities are, and like that was very unclear in the beginning, but you're just getting started, it's hard to even know.
Yeah.
And forgive fast. You got to do that. Otherwise you'd probably be sleeping on the couch a lot. And let's see, there's a time and a place. Like, keep the boundaries, because it'll blur together your relationship and the business. And then like, it's not good for either, for those to blur together, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. I'd imagine it'd be really hard to know how to keep things divided, because something happens at work, you get a text or email or something, and it's at night, and she's there, and how do you not just talk about it 24/7? So like, how do you, and if you're juggling all this, and I would ask the same question of Holly, but like for you, how do you personally stay grounded? Like, between juggling, the businesses, family, wellness, your mental health, like how do you do it without burning out or just losing your mind?
So yeah, morning routine. Gotta have a good morning routine. Every day, I get up early. I have my checklist of things that I do. I take care of myself, and I get the most important things done. And I just start the day the same way every day. And I think that keeps me grounded.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, last question, if it's even a question at all, but for those that are listening to this that are thinking for themselves of maybe picking up some of these meals because they want to eat better and want to do so without having to cook a long time. Maybe they know somebody who is just gave birth or is pregnant and is looking into, restorative roots. Is there any sort of parting pearls of wisdom or anything you'd like to share with listeners, about kind of what y'all are up to, or tips, wellness tips, anything like that you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, especially if for the pregnant ladies, like, yeah, get your food sorted out. I mean, you don't have to order from us, but just have a plan and have some stuff prepared. If it's not in your freezer, tap your village, like tap your people, see what you can do to like have the community support. And then yeah, for the men, like, be the rock. Whatever happens, like, just stay grounded and weather the storm. And then just for people in general and health, man, I'm a food is medicine guy. So just read your ingredients label. If you don't know what the word is, it's, don't eat it. I don't know. It's as simple as, boil it down as simple as can be. Not to say that it's easy, but that's the goal. That's the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Eric, thank you for your time. Super excited to have you on here. Super honored. And yeah, if people want to learn more, if they would like to place an order, how do they get in touch with you and Restorative Roots?
Yeah, you could follow us on Instagram at eat.restorativeroots. Our website is restorativeroots.com. And yeah, feel free to, you can hit the contact form if you have any questions, and we're around. We're around.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Eric. And Hopefully we could have you on again, but wishing you nothing but the best. And thank you for carving out some time to hang out with us.
Yeah, you too, Justin. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.